Greetings, people of Earth. Welcome back. My name is Jax, and today we are talking about how pain is relative. This is a touchy subject, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around because we often have this interpretation that, pain is really easy thing to judge on a scale, like stubbing your toe versus losing your mother or something, or the unspeakable horror of past events in history and the financial ruin of a family business or something. It's much harder to put everything onto a scale and say, oh well, this person's pain is harder than this person's pain. You can't really do that. There's a quote I like, and I don't know who said it, but I heard it from Joe Rogan, and he said, the worst thing that has ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. So whether it is something like losing a family member to dementia or cancer or some kind of long-term terminal illness compared with, losing a friend in a car crash at 17. These things are not easily quantifiable in terms of the impact they have and the pain that you feel. It's also hard to understand the different kinds of pain. So you can have a very difficult physical pain where, you have a chronic illness that really inhibits movement and makes life just a slog. And you can have emotional pain of losing somebody that you love or having some sort of traumatic event that really impacts who you are. And so pain is not one of these things that you can easily say, yeah, that's a 4 out of 5. Yeah, that's a 7 out of 10. Yeah, that's a 200 out of 1,000. And this makes many conversations quite difficult. We as humans sort of enjoy this idea of like outranking somebody or one-upping somebody and say, oh yeah, well, you fell off your skis and tumbled down the hill, and that must have sucked, but I broke my ankle snowboarding last year. And we just have this like competitive and comparative nature, and you can't really compare different kinds of pain. You might be able to, like I used with the stub toe analogy, you might be able to say like, oh, come on, that's nothing. But it's all relative, and some people have been through different kinds of situations that would knock me on the floor. They would absolutely knock me out. And some people are able to skirt through those things really easily. High pain tolerance. They might have just an attitude that really sets them up and says, well, it happened, I got to move on, I got to keep moving. Whereas it might throw me in a coma or make me catatonic for the next 5 years. And this kind of idea of like navigating who has felt the most, who has been hurt the most, it's not really a very productive conversation to have. It doesn't solve anything. And so I'm of the opinion that the way you navigate it is you just don't compare. You don't try and equivocate. You don't try and level with somebody's pain. You use it as experience, and it really takes a lot of compassion and empathy in order to navigate this whole area of pain properly. It's a messy topic, and we are very closely and emotionally connected to the pain we have suffered and the pain we have inflicted as well. But it's kind of a sensitive topic. It's like telling somebody that the way they're eating is really bad. We're sensitive individuals, and when it comes to pain, we do not like hearing that our pain is less than somebody else's or things like that. I went to high school with a friend, and they were very not competitive, but I guess comparative. And so if I had, something difficult in my life, they inevitably had something way worse. It was so much harder. And those kinds of people are really tiring. It's really hard to be around somebody who is constantly comparing, oh yeah, you got rear-ended on the way to school today. Oh my gosh, well, this happened with me, and it's just, I wish I got rear-ended today. Like, I wish that was the only thing that happened to me. That's really not a constructive way to converse with somebody, or to try and level with somebody, or just even communicate. The sort of one-upping thing, none of us like it. None of us like it, especially when it comes to our pain, because we felt it. It sucked. It really hurt. Whatever happened was a real difficult thing. It might have shaped your character. It might have changed who you are, changed the direction of your life. Maybe you decided to become an EMT, or it can have a fundamental impact on who you are. And so then to hear someone else say like, oh, come on, that was nothing. You don't know what hardship is. In fact, it's one of the reasons why generations of people clash. Conversations with your grandparents about how much harder it was back then, when in reality, it was probably relative. And so the idea that, grandpa having to walk uphill both ways to school is so much harder than navigating the social media world, and how we're all disconnected from each other, and we have this emotional solitude we have to deal with. You're comparing apples to oranges. They're two different situations, and people on either side of that debate will argue, well, walking uphill both ways, that's so hard, and it was physically demanding, and it was such a hard thing, and I could have died while walking to school in -50 or whatever. And then you have the social isolation that social media possesses, and how that, isolates us, makes us feel worthless, like we're not good enough, all of those emotional things, cyberbullying. You can't compare those two situations. People are going to have opinions. Even watching this video, you might have an opinion that one of those things is far more difficult and painful than the other. But in reality, it's all relative. Certain people might navigate one situation better than the other, and vice versa. And so this whole debate or conversation of like, you had it harder, no, I had it harder, doesn't actually solve anything. And it actually just divides us and sort of stops the whole conversation from happening. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, is pain is relative, and the only way to really navigate it with grace, with poise, with compassion, is to be compassionate, is to be understanding and empathetic, and to try and not compare what you've been through with other people. Sympathizing and saying something like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry you got rear-ended. I've been through the same thing, and it's awful. Like, how can I help? Like, what can we do? Is there a solution? Can I take your mind off of it? Can we go do something? Like, that is okay. That sort of sympathy of, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for your loss. I lost my dad 2 years ago, and it's still pangs, so my heart goes out to you. That kind of thing, I think, is really genuinely beautiful. And the way that you can experience a similar pain, or you can sympathize and say, you know what, I really feel for you. What you're going through is not fun. It's not an enjoyable experience. I have my own experience, so I've got an inkling. I can never know exactly what you feel, but it's not fun. I think that is the most beautiful way that you can connect with somebody over something you've been through. Because that's another beautiful thing about humans, is although we like this competitive one-upmanship, we're also amazing at being able to sympathize and empathize with people. And we are incredibly open to forming relationships with people who have been through the similar difficulties. Even the exact same difficulty. Some of my friends and I have been through horrible pain together, and it has made us inseparable. It has connected us in a way that we never thought that we would be connected. And although the pain we experience sucks, and it's not fun, and it's, a constant struggle of, how do I get over this? How do I live with this? It's also this amazing connection and this amazing thing that has made life more vivid. Life is meant to be vivid. It's meant to be felt. And unfortunately, that means good and bad. That means, you're gonna get the whole show, no matter what, no matter how much you try to avoid the uncomfortable. It's a fact of life. And so, that's where I'm at. So I don't know. Let me know what you think about pain. Are you of the opinion that, some pain is greater than others, or is it all relative? Am I right? Yeah, let me know what you think. Also, please appreciate the background. I really tried today with, my background being kind of pretty. It's all my mom's doing. I mean, I'm no interior designer, but I just thought, hey, this is a fun angle. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. I hope today is not painless, but I hope there's less pain today than there was tomorrow. And that's the best we can hope for. So thank you so much for being here. As always, I will talk to you guys tomorrow.